always feel a little bit better when you can have a
get
little
Muppets.
have a
Exactly.
little Muppets in your life.
I like that. Is the light okay?
Yes, the light is lovely.
All right. Oh, you're on your way. Huh, just thought of.
That.
Okay.
All right, I'm good if you are.
I am ready to go.
Hello everyone. Welcome once again to Editing Academy. I'm Darryl.
I'm Laura.
Laura, what are we here to do today?
We are here to talk about the additional 2012 Best Picture nominees for movies that were released in 2011. We have already talked about The Descendants, Midnight in Paris, Moneyball, The Tree of Life, and The Artist.
Mm-hmm.
And today we are here to talk about Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, The Help, Hugo, and Warhorse.
Excellent. We already did the other notables last time, the top 5. Harry Potter is now done, so there'll be a new IP, I'm sure, next time.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the last Pirates as well. And,
Oh, okay.
One more Twilight, so there you go.
Alrighty.
So first off,
Nice clap.
thank you
Well
very
done.
much. I'm trying very hard to remember the clap because we
Alright.
forgot for a very long period of time.
Yeah, and that was a very solid one.
Thank you. Shall we dive right in with Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close?
Let's do it.
All right, Extremely Loud and Incredibly Close, directed by Stephen Daldry, written by Eric Roth, based on the 2005 novel of the same name by Jonathan Safran Foer, F-O-E-R, stars Tom Hanks, Sandra Bullock, Thomas Horn in his film debut, Max von Sydow, Viola Davis, John Goodman, Jeffrey Wright, Zoe Caldwell in her final film role.
Oh.
Was nominated for Best Picture and Best Supporting Actor for Max. Go with some cool stuff.
Okay, well, let's start with a summary, which
Sure.
is a 9-year-old amateur inventor, francophile, and pacifist searches New York City for the lock that matches a mysterious key left behind by his father, who died in the World Trade Center on September 11th, 2001.
That's a summary for sure.
It is. I don't like I know they took it off his little calling card that his dad made,
Yeah.
but I think it's too cute if you haven't seen the movie as the summary.
Yeah.
So
I'm
I'm
with
going to
you.
complain. So a couple of fun facts. One is James Gandolfini was originally in this movie as a love interest for Sandra Bullock. They meet at a grief center.
Oh.
And his name was actually on the original poster, but they cut out all of his scenes because it didn't test well. So I would be interested in what that chemistry was between the two of them.
Yeah, they're both phenomenal actors, but they have very different styles.
Yeah, it's like the movie he was in with Elaine,
Yes.
with
Yep.
Louis Dreyfus, and it was better than I expected it to be. So
He is a lot more he was a lot
Yes.
more versatile than people give him credit for.
I agree.
Anyway,
All right, one more fact, which is Max von Sydow,
I've always said Sydow, but
Sydow, turned down the role of Hal from the movie Beginners that Christopher Plummer ended up getting, and Christopher Plummer, won the Best Supporting Oscar that year that Max was up against him for. So interesting, but I loved him in this role. So, but interesting sliding doors moment.
sure. And we'll dive into all of that.
All right, bring it.
I knew that I had not seen this before.
Mm-hmm.
I knew nothing about it. I watched the trailer just so I could see, and then did a little bit of cursory research before watching it. Because you had said something that stuck in my head about the controversy when this movie came out. So I was expecting something not like taboo or something.
Right.
But I didn't know what that meant. And then obviously once you see the film, I understand that it was probably a little close to the actual...
I think that was the controversy, was it was a little too close to the World Trade Center events. I think also there was some controversy within the autistic community as to how they portrayed the son as where he was on the spectrum or not. And also I think just the last piece of it was apparently, and this was not a fun fact, but one of the lowest reviewed Best Picture nominees ever.
Really?
So it did not hit well from a review. I saw somebody said something to the effect of, once you open up the Best Picture nominees to 10 nominees, you get a lot of pictures that a lot of people liked, whereas it used to be a few pictures that a few people loved. And so I think they thought it was for the masses, not for the critical audience. And people way smarter than me that I read about said those things, but I don't remember who.
And we've touched on many times, and we'll continue to do it, I'm sure, the expansion into 10. What does that actually mean? This was 9 this year. I will argue that some of these films, quite a few of them, don't belong here.
I would agree with that.
And I think we're going to find that each year there's going to be more of that because of the wide expanse.
Mm-hmm.
Last year was slightly different because the last 5 we did were all such incredible solid films, and then a couple from the batch before. This year I did not feel that same thing.
I really wish they would look at their nominations and really reflect on the up to 10.
Yeah.
That it could be 5 one year, it could be 10 one year, it could be 7. Like, I think that they're pushing for 10 Best Picture nominees, and I think that they should go back to the original idea of up to 10.
Yeah, and I think there were films that were out that year that deserve to be nominated over some of these.
Yes.
I will make a very strong argument for Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
That's a great movie.
Should have been a Best Picture nomination in my opinion, but was not. Anyway.
Yes.
Okay.
What did you think?
This movie was fine. And we're going to talk about this more when we get to Hugo. But for me, there's a fine line that you have to walk when you have children as a star, and those children are portrayed as far smarter than they actually are at their age. And I think this film is one of those, whether they're doing it because he's supposed to be autistic, which I didn't pick up on, or not, I don't care. The way this story goes and follows him, he is far smarter than his age.
Yes.
People do not treat him like a child, which that's fine. But look at the Jeffrey Rush scene where he suddenly is, you knew my father, and then the next 5 minutes are Jeffrey Rush just treating this person like he's an adult and he's now unburdening himself to this child. I don't think that works in this film at all.
Yes. Jeffrey Rush, which scene was that?
He was the one that when you find out what the key was actually for.
That wasn't Jeffrey Rush.
Oh, sorry, not Jeffrey Rush.
Jeffrey Wright.
Jeffrey Wright.
Okay.
That's what I meant.
Okay, yes, I completely agree with everything that you just said, except for I'm like, wow, did I miss a scene
Nope,
with Jeffrey Rush?
I totally misspoke. Jeffrey Wright, not Jeffrey
Agree.
Rush.
No, and I totally agree with everything that you just said. Yes.
And so for me, overall, the film does suffer when that's the case. Like, if it's a fantastical voyage and the children are leading you through the voyage and you buy into it a little bit more. When you set it in real life settings, then you have to have some form of real life interaction that is believable. And I don't think the way people interacted with this child was believable. Except for there's a small part, like the first 3/4 of the movie, you're wondering how this child is able to go to all these people and have them and just be like, okay, fine, I'll talk to you. And then, of course, you discover that mom was doing all of this before.
Yes.
So then that becomes a little more believable, but even so.
Well, and that bothered me a lot because for me, the reveal was too late. Because I was completely out of the movie thinking about it the whole time of, I cannot believe this mother is letting her child run all over the city, both days of the weekend, doesn't know where he is, he's in all of the boroughs. And it really actually bothered me a lot. And then, of course, you find out, well, no, she's actually been setting him up for success, still letting him do it by himself. But it was much less bad than I thought it was. But the reveal was too late. And the same thing with what you're saying is, yes, it made those experiences and set him up to have more meaningful relationships and conversations, but it was too late. I was already out of it by that time.
I didn't have as big of a problem with his running around on his own. I mean, bad mom for sure.
Yeah.
But I thought they did a decent job of setting up her depression where she was in bed a lot, where she was not really even thinking of herself a lot. So the neglect that happens, I kind of bought into that. I was like, okay, she's depressed, so yes, she's being a bad mom, letting her kid run around all over New York City.
But you understood why.
I did.
Okay, yeah, I was still not quite as forgiving of that piece. But I will say there should have been more Sandra Bullock in this movie.
Yeah, 100%.
Because the first of all, I don't think there was a meaningful scene between her and Tom Hanks.
No.
So we're supposed to expect this love and this amazing loss that she suffered to set up this depression, and we only have one telephone call from them.
Yep.
And granted, it was a telephone call in the most meaningful time possible, but still, one call, nothing visual. And then the scene she has with the son where he says, I hate you, I wish it was you, and then he felt terrible, and he's like, no, I didn't mean that. And she's like, yeah, you did.
You did.
And he did. And like that scene was gorgeous. That scene was beautiful, it was truthful, and I wanted more between the two of them. And I just wanted more Sandra Bullock because I thought she did a really nice job with a very underwritten character.
Yeah, her character was absolutely underwritten, but she reminds you in this movie what a amazing actress she
Yes.
really is.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, Blindside, we've talked about that, but because of the movie roles that she has taken, the majority of them have been
Yeah.
like romantic comedies or something along those
You
lines.
don't see her depth.
Correct.
Yeah.
So when you do get that chance to see, you're right, the scene where she's talking to Tom as he's in the tower was amazing. The range that she had to go through in a very, very short period of time,
Yeah.
she just proved once again what an amazing actress she really is and how often overlooked she is.
Yeah.
So I think more development of her and anybody else in this film
Would have
would
been
have been
helpful.
better.
Yeah, I agree with that. Since we're talking about performances, I do want to talk about the grandfather's role,
Yep.
which is, first of all, I picked up on the fact that he was playing Tom Hanks's father as well because of his physicality. Like they showed Tom Hanks shrugging in a certain way, and then the grandfather shrugged in that same way. And even before the child said, you know,
I know you're my
that,
grandfather.
yeah, that. Well, but he said that reminds me of my dad, or the
Oh,
way you do
yeah.
that. I'm like, that is got to be the grandfather because he looks just like Tom Hanks when he was doing that. So I love that he picked up on the physicality of the character, but also he never spoke.
I know.
And you knew exactly what he was thinking. And one of my favorite and most painful scenes was the scene where the child is playing the answering machine messages and the grandfather is begging him in writing to stop. And you've got these two people, one who cannot hear it and one who must share it. And I thought that was really, really well done with the both of them.
There are moments in this film
Yeah.
that were truly inspired. That is definitely one of them. In fact, most of the scenes with Max
With the yeah.
were inspired. And you're right, he says nothing throughout the entire film. It's all in face and body language, and he carries his role brilliantly. I found it, and I was fine with it. I just found it incredibly convenient that it's the grandfather, the father that abandoned them
Of course.
so long ago. Like that's just lazy to me.
Oh, it is absolutely lazy. And a lot of this was lazy. He finds the message in the swing at the very end of the movie
Yeah.
and therefore has his closure. I kind of wrote down that I love the idea of this movie and the fact that they are exploring that 9/11 was not understandable or was not explainable,
Right.
and that how do you make a child understand why they lost their parent when there is no explanation. I love the idea of exploring that. I
Yep.
did not like the way they did it.
Yeah, there were a lot of missed opportunities in
Yeah.
this film. One thing that I did like, which I have a feeling a lot of people didn't, was I liked that the key that was the center of his whole voyage
Yep.
ended up being basically nothing.
It had nothing to do with him.
Correct.
It had nothing to do
I
with the dad.
liked that. I thought that was an inspired choice, but they didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
Like, there were, again, just a lot of missed opportunities. All the performances were fine. Even John Goodman, who was in it for like 2.5 minutes.
Yes, yes.
He was great. I mean, everybody that was in this movie is a quality, solid actor, and they all did what their jobs was. My problem is, it's the story in this that just doesn't work for me.
What do you think about the child? Because I think he did a very, very good job. There were a couple of scenes that were a little too emotional for him to carry off that came as shrill for
Yeah.
me.
I think at moments he was stiff. I
Mhm.
think the director was asking a lot of
Yes,
him,
absolutely.
which I don't think this movie shouldn't be put on his shoulders. There should have been more support to help carry it through.
Yeah.
Less of him, more of the support structure, I think would have made this a much better film.
Yep, totally agree with that.
Yeah, that's all I have. It's just a lot of missed opportunities and it's just badly written.
I have been avoiding this movie because of the subject matter and because it didn't get great reviews, and I will say I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. but I didn't think it was a Best Picture nominee.
No, I'm 100% with you.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, let's move on to one that I do believe deserves to be nominated, which is The Help.
All right.
Written and directed by Tate Taylor, based on Catherine Stockett's 2000 novel of the same name. The film features an ensemble cast, of course: Emma Stone, Viola Davis, Bryce Dallas Howard, Octavia Spencer, Jessica Chastain, Allison Janney, Cecily Tyson, and Sissy Spacek. Nominated for Best Picture, Best Actress for Viola, Best Supporting for Octavia and Jessica Chastain, and Octavia did take it home.
All right, so the summary is, an aspiring author during the civil rights movement of the 60s decides to write a book detailing the African-American maid's point of view on the white families for which they work and the hardships they go through on a daily basis.
Sure.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yep.
And straightforward.
Yep.
So a couple of fun facts is every female role in this, any major female role in this movie except for Bryce Dallas Howard has won an Oscar. So you've got your Allison Janney, Viola Davis,
Yep.
Octavia Spencer, Emma Stone, Sissy Spacek, and there's Jessica Chastain.
Yep.
So 7.
Wow, that is true.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a stacked powerhouse cast,
Yes.
for sure. But I never thought of
Yep.
that. That's kind of cool.
Yep, so I thought that was really, really good. Another fun fact, and we're going to get into this when we talk about the movie, is not so fun a fact, but Viola Davis has later expressed regret for taking on this role.
Really?
She feels it's a white savior narrative and that it was wrong of her to be in this movie and to provide the white narrative rather than the black narrative.
Okay.
So I really want to dig into that a little bit because I have a very just kind of interesting, a little bit of a different viewpoint. But yeah, so, and then the only other thing is that the director and the author were childhood friends, and the director begged the author, neither well known, the author of the book had been rejected 60 times before it was finally published.
Wow.
And prior to it being published, the director begged her to let him option it as a book if it was ever published. And so that's how they both came into Hollywood together.
That's kind of cool.
Yep, and both of them from Jackson, Mississippi.
Okay, why don't you start off, because I think that the framing, the structure of this, I think, is a good place to dive into this film.
So I want to start a little bit with my reaction to it and my reaction to it, which is, I think when we talked about Blindside, I mentioned I love that movie, I'm entertained by that movie, I am ashamed that I am entertained by that movie.
Yep.
I really enjoy this movie. I find it incredibly entertaining, and I'm not as ashamed of that as I guess I should be, because I do take on, I hear Viola Davis, I hear what she is saying. I do think it is a bit of a white savior movie in that the white character is necessary to get the black voices heard. And I don't love that, but I do think it is the black voices that are heard.
Yeah.
And I do think it's a story that wouldn't be told, or maybe it's making a story that would not be accessible to a wide audience without this method of getting that story told. So I think otherwise people would not be as aware of these stories. So I think it is well done. There's a lot of flaws, and I want to talk about some flaws. There's a lot of flaws, but I think it tells a story that needs to be told. It tells it in a less than perfect way, but in a way with some amazing performances, fantastic timing, propulsion. I never bored. There's always action going on. So I think it's a good movie. I understand the detractors.
I don't.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with this movie at all. I question. I mean, I understand why someone would hang the white savior label on this, because the way you put it was perfect. Without the white character, the black voices would not be heard, which is almost a textbook definition.
Right.
And I understand that. However, there were, and this is not based on a true story, correct?
It is not technically based on a true story, but the author has drawn on. She grew up in Jackson, Mississippi, in this time, and drew on people she knew.
Right,
but there's no maid named Minnie.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I knew that it was based on the author's experiences. I just didn't know how factual and in reality is. And I don't mind showing that in troublesome times there were good people out there trying to help. I don't think that is a bad thing. I think it becomes a bad thing when it is because of a white person that suddenly black people change their mind or go
Yeah.
through some sort of growth, like the more extreme definition of a white savior.
Yes.
That's when I have problems with that. I don't mind a well-told story that has at its center a white person doing good things to help black voices. I have no issues with that.
I would agree with that, and also I think that it had I don't think that the ending for Minnie and her storyline was terribly realistic, so I'm going to put that to the side. I think, though, Viola Davis, I mean, she told her story, and her life did not necessarily get better, so it's not really a white savior moment. It didn't end great for her, and it's not going to end great for her in that way. So again, kind of the Dances with Wolves is a white savior movie if there's no saving. So I think there's a question there. And the other thing is I like that they showed how well intentioned Skeeter was. Like meeting Viola Davis or Abilene at the bus stop, like, oh, I'll make sure there's no danger. Don't worry, everything's fine.
Meanwhile, she's putting her.
Meanwhile, everybody is watching this white woman approach a black woman, and then she's a writer and she's going to tell the story. So I like that they showed that she was well intentioned and ignorant and had no real understanding of the danger that she was putting these women into until they called it to her attention. Because I think that that's a true, not trope, but a true person as well. Is you've got lots of well-intentioned folks who are not helping.
Yes, and I absolutely agree. I think the different angles. This film doesn't take one particular angle of racism, good, bad, or indifferent. No. It has multiple that are put in there, which I think gives the film a certain balance that was necessary for this film to work. If it had only been hitting you over the head on one angle or even two angles, I don't think this film works at all. So the balancing and showing well-intentioned people who are doing harm, people who are doing outright harm.
Oh, yeah.
And, the conversations that happen behind the scenes. We'll get into Mom in just a second.
Yeah, I want to talk about her.
But those multiple things tell a much rounder story, and in my opinion, a much more honest story.
I do think it was an honest story because you've got Hilly on one side of the spectrum, and then you've got Skeeter on the other side of the spectrum, and then you have a lot of people who, I think her mother is a fascinating character because I think that she is tragic in that she knows she did wrong and she did it anyway. And I am not excusing what she did because what she did was horrible, but she knows it and she didn't know, she wasn't brave enough not to do it. And she knows how not brave she was and she's trying to do better.
And that's one of the things, that's one of the things that I do enjoy about the film. And there are these moments where the overall conversation of race is just shown from so many different angles, and it doesn't pass judgment necessarily. The film doesn't pass judgment on any of it. And I think that is a very fine line to walk when you're talking about things as tricky as race. And I think the film does a very good job of not being preachy, not being, not taking a side. It's just showing you a time period and then the situations, all of the situations that were existing at that time period. And I think that's kind of brave to do.
I agree. Well, it's like Viola Davis or Abilene when she said to Skeeter, "What if you don't like what I say about white people?" I mean, there's a real fear there, and Skeeter was like, "It's not about me. It's about your story," and just the fact that hey, we're northern white people, so we don't have a view into this world of, there's probably lots of folks in the world that don't know domestics, domestics, maids, however, the help, however you want to characterize it, do not have to be paid minimum wage. They do not get paid into Social Security. That, all of those things are still true. So, and, in some places, and terrifying.
So speaking of some of the characters and how they were drawn, I think for the vast majority of them, they were all drawn very, very well. You get just enough and more to understand each of the principal characters that are on there. The only one that I have just a slight issue with is Celia. She's a little too one-note racist for me. But
which one is Celia?
She's the one that eats the shit pie.
Hilly,
sorry.
Yeah, okay.
it's just a little too much, and I honestly don't know if it's the writing or the performance. I can't really make up my
I
mind.
thought she was 100% realistic. I didn't think she was unrealistic at all.
I thought it was just like I said, just a tad too, for me, it was
Yeah.
just a tad too much. Pull some of it back, and you could still have the same impact, I thought, but.
I thought it was realistic of you know, her kind of being the ringleader, because I think if you pull it back just slightly, then you get the woman that Abilene worked for. Then you get the, you know, like the other
I could see
women
it.
in the circle. And so I think that you kind of need this ringleader. And I love where she was talking about, you know, there are real racists out there. She in no way considers herself a racist.
Correct.
Because she actually had a black woman in her home. So I'm sure that there are real racists out there, from Hilly's definition,
Yeah.
that wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, it was just a
Yeah.
little too much, considering how all of the other people were a little bit more balanced and shot. I mean, I get her role, I get her function,
Yeah.
I get what she was there to do. For me, it was just a tad too much. Could have pulled back a little more.
So I was on the other end of the spectrum. I thought Jessica Chastain's husband was just a little too good and a little too understanding. And, you know, here, you know, is the maid that we have hired, and we're going to create a feast for her and come eat at our table and all of those things. I'm like, I don't know. I think he probably would have been real pleased that she was teaching his wife how to cook, and she took care of him and the household, and he might have given her a little extra money. I don't know that he would have embraced her into the house in that way.
Speaking of the men, this film does the role reversal.
It absolutely does.
All of the men are fairly kind of one-dimensional, stereotypical, whereas the women are the ones who are defined and have depth to them.
Which is rare. Yeah.
Yes. And I like that. I mean, I would have liked the men to have had a little bit more depth so we could have a little bit more of an understanding. But it was fun to kind of watch and recognize and be like, oh, okay, you're getting treated like, you know, women have been for a long time.
Exactly, for, you know, 80 years of film.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I saw it as well.
Overall, I like this, and I'm not taking anything away from Viola Davis's statements or people who have similar viewpoints on it. I just don't subscribe to that viewpoint for this film.
Yep, I think that's fair. I think it adds to the narrative and makes this conversation accessible to some people who might not have seen this viewpoint. So I think it's valuable.
Yeah, it's part of the overall conversation. It is not the conversation.
Oh gosh, yeah. And also Octavia Spencer like deserved every accolade they threw at her. She's amazing in this movie. I love her.
Yeah, I love her too. What's the space one where they're at NASA?
I don't know. Oh, with Melissa McCarthy. I haven't seen that one.
No.
Oh, yes, the
Good Figures.
Good Figures, yes.
Or Hidden Figures. Something like that.
Hidden
Anyway.
Figures. Okay.
That's,
She's great in that as well.
Yeah. Okay, shall we move on to Hugo?
Let's do it.
Hugo, directed and produced by Martin Scorsese, adapted for the screen by John Logan, based on Brian Selznick's 2007 book, The Invention of Hugo Cabret, stars Ben Kingsley, Sacha Baron Cohen, Asa Butterfield, Chloe Grace Moretz, Ray Winstone, Emily Mortimer, Jude Law, and Helen McCrory. It was nominated for pretty much everything. Picture, director, screenplay, art direction, cinematography, costume design, film editing, original score, sound editing, sound mixing, best visual effects. It won most of the technical categories: effects, sound mixing, editing, cinematography, and art direction. Go with some stuff.
All right.
I have one if you don't.
All right, I've got a couple. So the summary first is, in 1931 Paris, an orphan living in the walls of a train station gets wrapped up in a mystery involving his late father and an automaton.
Okay.
All right. So a couple of fun facts, and then I do want to hear yours as well if I don't hit on it. So I've seen this a couple times before. Until this read, though, and I don't know where I missed out on this, I did not realize that it was loosely based on a real story. That, you know, all of these people lived, and that the Ben Kingsley character was the director of the movie A Trip to the Moon. That I think we've all kind of seen that cartoon of, with the rocket landing in the moon's eye. So I just didn't realize how close it was to a real story.
I knew that person existed. I didn't know how.
It was a fairly loosely based. And then the only other fact I have is that both this movie and the movie A Trip to the Moon, that features heavily in this movie, are on the list of 1,001 movies you should see before you die.
Oh.
So I just thought that was interesting.
So,
What's your fun fact?
Martin Scorsese, the reason he signed on to direct this movie, he didn't write it, he just signed on to be the director of it, is he's like, when my grandchildren got old enough to start watching movies, they kept asking me if they could watch one of my movies, and I kept having to tell them, no, you can't.
No, you can't.
Not until you're much older. So he's like, I made this so that they could watch one of my movies.
I think that's beautiful.
That's sweet.
And also, that explains the, if you didn't tell me this was a Martin Scorsese movie, I would have never known.
Yeah. Okay. This whole thing is, it kind of suffers a bit because it's very, very English and so very French.
Yes. Well, and you know that this is meant to be seen in 3D. It was filmed in 3D.
Oh, I did not know that, no.
It's a 3D movie.
I did not know that.
I thought it
I've
would be
never
fascinating, and that neither have I.
And to me, it has a very Amelie kind of vibe to it.
Yes, yep,
And
I agree.
that kind of took me out for a long period of time the first time I watched it, and then it was like 5 or 10 minutes in, and I was like, oh, there's the Amelie vibe again. Okay, fine. I don't like when other movies hit me while I'm watching another movie.
Okay.
They tend to kind of take me out, and I can't enjoy that movie for that movie. Like, I can see influences, I can have themes or whatever, but it was so
Too much?
strong that, and I'm not saying it was done intentionally, I'm not saying it was copied in any way, shape, or form,
Yeah.
but that vibe was so strong that
Mhm.
it is kind of hard for me to sit and go through this movie.
I would add to your, it's so very English, it's so very French, by one of the quintessential American directors.
Yes.
So it had a pile of influences, and I think it was a lot of smushed together stuff. I had seen this, so I think I mentioned I've seen it a couple of times. I didn't really love it either time. I watched it this time, and I must have been in a mood because I liked it much more this time. But I think I knew the story, so I just watched it for the beauty of the production.
Yeah.
And this is a beautiful production. I mean, the clocks and the gears, it's so very steampunk. It's how, kind of everything is moving. Even Asa Butterfield, who plays Hugo, the blue of his eyes just caught me on this watching.
Yeah.
And so I think when it comes to production design and seeing the beauty of a movie, when they went from like the silent movies and everything that he did with the timing and the motion, I really enjoyed the presentation of it. I didn't love the movie,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
No, it absolutely
Okay.
does, and that's essentially the same emotion that I have as well. You're introduced to the world very quickly,
Mhm.
and you know exactly what this world is.
Yeah.
Within the first 10 minutes, you have pretty much everything that you're going to need.
Yes.
And you know the world, you know how limiting things are, you know a bit of the backstory, so you're ready to take this voyage. And the voyage isn't really that interesting.
It isn't. There is so much movement. There is so much color. I could turn off the volume and watch this movie and get as much enjoyment out of it as I did listening to it.
And this is another one to me where the children are portrayed as far older and more knowledgeable than they really are.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And for some strange reason, I don't know if it was just the theme in my head or what, but it bothered me more than it normally does in these two films in particular. I don't mind following the child and watching their voyage and have them discover things. But think Little Miss Sunshine. She's the central character, and she is so playing her age.
Yes.
These two in particular, the children are, by necessity to propel things forward, have to be so much smarter than they actually are.
Mhm.
And I think that's a fallacy in the writing.
Well, and I think you hit on it when you said, what they are discovering. These children aren't discovering anything.
No.
They are opening up the world for the adults around them.
Yes.
So he is helping facilitate, the opening of the eyes of Ben Kingsley, that his work is not lost, that people remember him, all of those things. He's opening the eyes of the police officer, the Sacha Baron Cohen role, to open him up to what's happening. So he is facilitating discovery for other people around him, which that should be the child's role.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just everything is just so incredibly convenient as you go on this quote unquote journey. I got bored because you could almost predict what was going to happen.
Yeah.
You knew that there was going to be a moment where the director is going to understand the value of his work again.
Yes.
You know that the key is going to eventually unlock, and the automaton is going to do something.
Yeah.
You like it.
The
it
two
was
actors
all,
from Harry Potter are going to find love with their little doggies.
It was just predictable, and it didn't engage me enough or have enough moments where I didn't know what was going to happen eventually.
I agree with you. The one place where it did surprise me was the dreams, where he thinks he's on the track, he's getting the key off the track, and the train goes off the track and through the kind of through the station,
Mm-hmm.
and then he wakes up from that dream, oh thank goodness, and then he looks down and he is an automatron, and so like that surprised me, but again it had nothing to do with propelling the story forward.
Yeah.
It just was a really cool set. I liked that, but it just didn't hit me emotionally.
No, and the whole point of why we're doing these with the Best Picture is to talk about the quality of the film in
Yes.
the context of Best Picture.
Yes.
And I think that this is far too convenient a film to be nominated for Best Picture.
Mhm.
It's visually stunning. It's a fine voyage you go on. I just get a little bored with it. It's all just too incredibly convenient to be elevated to that level.
I agree. I was listening to a podcast about the Best Pictures, and they said something to the effect of, and I think this was on the Best Picture podcast, which is my favorite, which you guys should all listen to, and you would actually really love it. So, but they were talking about the fact that now that it's been expanded to 10, every craft nomination has to come from those 10. So it used to be like, oh, here are the 5 nominees, and then there may be a nomination for production design outside of those 5.
Oh.
And they don't do that anymore. Like pretty much all of the craft, nominations are coming out of the 10 Best Pictures. They're not saying, okay, Hugo wasn't a Best Picture nominee, it wasn't that great a film, but boy, was production design worth nominating.
Huh.
And they just don't do that anymore when there's 10 to choose from.
I never even
Which
put
is a shame.
I
Yeah.
would never put that together, but if that's true, that's just fucking lazy.
Again, not smart enough to come up with that on my own, but true, I think.
So yeah, that's all I really have to say about this. It's a fine film. It's gorgeous. I have problems with the kids and the story, and I get bored, and I don't believe it should be elevated to the status of a Best Picture.
I'm with you.
Cool. Let's move on to the last one, Warhorse.
All right.
Warhorse, directed and produced by Steven Spielberg, from a screenplay written by Lee Hall and Richard Curtis. It was based on Michael Morpurgo, I might be mispronouncing your name, 1982 novel, and its 2007 stage adaptation, which that just seems kind of weird to have
A
this-
stage, a stage adaptation of this, yeah.
Stars Emily Watson, David Thewlis, Peter Mullen, Niels Estrup, Jeremy Irvine, tons of other people. There's, cameos left and right,
Yeah.
people propelling it. It's kind of Thin Red Line-ish in that
Yeah.
way. Nominated for
Cumberbatch.
Best Picture, Best Art Direction, Cinematography, Original Score, Sound Editing, Sound Mixing. Did not win a thing. And Steven was not nominated.
Oh, interesting. For Best Director? Okay. So the summary is a young farm boy enlists to serve in World War I after his beloved horse is sold to the cavalry. His hopeful journey takes him out of England and on to the front lines as the war rages on.
Okay, sure.
I don't think that talks enough about a boy and his horse, which is what, to me, it was kind of really about.
The whole story is about the horse. We follow
Yeah.
the horse. It's the horse's story.
This is true. All right, so a couple of fun facts.
Yep.
14 horses play Joey, but the major horse that you see most of the time is a horse named Finder's Key, which was the same horse that played Seabiscuit.
Oh!
So this same horse was nominated for 2 Best Pictures.
Oh, Horse is a star.
Horse is a horse, of course. And then the only other thing is when you see all of the, kind of spectacle that was going on, you expect that there was a lot of CGI. And actually, Steven Spielberg said that there were only 3 moments of CGI, very small. He said they were like 3 seconds each, and they were all put in because he couldn't put a horse in the situation that he wanted to tell the story in. So everything that you saw was either a horse or a mechanical horse,
Yep.
but pretty much all practical effects.
Wow.
Which I was surprised by.
Yeah, particularly like the war scenes running through. I figured.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
or the barbed wire was all
Yep.
was all rubber.
Oh, okay. Well, good, because they don't harm
You
the horse.
can't hurt the horsey.
Okay. This one had a very Lord of the Rings Shire feel to it to me. Like the
Fair.
opening and the closing when he's at the home, very Shire.
Yeah, very
And
much so.
I didn't pick that up the first time I watched it, I only picked it up this time, but it's like, even like the pacing and the framing and the stillness, I
Yeah.
was like, I wonder how many times Steven has actually watched Lord of the Rings, because this feels so familiar.
I did not pick up on that, but that's very interesting. And when you figure Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings about his experiences in World War I, so that even makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
We've seen this kind of film before. We follow a thing all the way through, and it's the voyage of a thing. It's either a person, sometimes like, I don't know if you ever saw Stradivarius, where it's just the story of following the violin. Anyway, this is not, it's not a hugely common, but we have seen this before. And for this kind of story to work, those side characters, when you go into a particular new setting or new place, the story that is being told temporarily at that place, they all have to be so individually strong to carry this through. And for the most part, I think they are, but not all of them. I think there's enough where it's not as strong as some others, so you kind of step back into a little bit less, and you're like, okay, I just can't wait for this part to get through to get on to the next part.
I would agree with that. Like, for instance, I thought the grandfather and granddaughter part was very strong.
Yep.
And I thought that the 2 brothers part was a little weaker.
Yep.
The grooms, yeah, I would agree. So I would say this is not my favorite Spielberg by a long stretch, and this is one of my least favorite Spielbergs, just because I appreciate what they are doing, but again, the beginning, the Shire part, which you're absolutely right, I felt the score during that part was like, feel whimsical and funny, here's the old drunk man with his goose, like whimsical. And then like this ridiculous score of violins as the boy is teaching his horse how to stay and stop and all that kind of thing. And then, here's the funny part again, and it just, like, here's how you need to feel, which bugs me. And I just did not care as much as I should have cared. I don't know.
No, I'm with you. Like, the film definitely directs and tries to direct your emotion.
Yeah.
There are moments, I think, of brilliance in this film, and I'll give you one very easy example. The 2 Germans that end up with the horse.
Yep.
The ones, and then they run away, and then they hide out, and then as they're coming out, and you see it's a pan shot from above.
With the windmill.
Yeah, the windmill hits perfectly as they're shot, so you don't see it.
Yes.
I was like, that's inspired.
That was an amazing shot.
Yes.
I will agree with you. I didn't care for that necessarily part of the movie,
No.
that their experience, but you're right, that was an amazing shot.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
And there are a couple moments like that,
Okay.
that being the standout. So there are moments of brilliance, because Steven is a brilliant director.
Of course. Yeah.
But overall, I don't think that this kind of story is his strength.
Well, and I will even say when it was Joey and the black horse that they were kind of together, and like they were going to take the black horse to pull up whatever it was they were pulling, and you knew that was going to kill them.
Yep.
That was going to kill them. And it was almost like the horses were having a conversation, the way that you looked between their eyes of, I'm going to die doing this, I'm not going to let you do this, I'm going to jump up and try to... So it was almost like he gave animation to those horses through his direction, but all in all, there were not enough of those perfect moments.
Yeah, like I said, for this kind of story, all of the side stories that are happening as you're following this horse on its journey need to be so incredibly strong and engaging. And, he did try at the end with the option of bringing things back. There were callbacks. The grandfather comes.
Yep.
It all, because it's, it's supposed to be a feel-good movie, so of course Joey ends up going back. And it all works. It all works out. But the individual journey itself that you go on and the side characters that help propel that journey were just not strong enough to make this an amazing film. I think it's a really good film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's amazing.
I would say it's a good film. I'm not even going to give it the really, because it just did not capture my imagination
I think
in the way
it
that I
captured
wanted
mine
it
a
to.
little bit more than
Yep,
yours.
it sounds like it did, and it wasn't a bad movie. I'm glad that I watched it. I've watched it a couple times now. I watched it when it first came out, and liked it. But I didn't love it. I didn't think it was elevated to a Best Picture nominee. I think that's because of the Spielberg name.
Yeah, I agree. I was surprised, honestly, that because the film was nominated, that he wasn't nominated as well, because they tend to go hand in hand.
Well, but now they only have 5 director, 10 Best Picture, so they can't do that anymore.
That's true.
This may be the first year he was nominated with that 10 movies. I don't think he was nominated last year.
I don't remember.
So it might be the first time that he was caught up in that difficulty.
Okay. So yeah, I don't regret my time at all.
Nope. I thought it was fine.
Okay.
Good time with movies.
I will be very honest. I honestly have no idea where you're going to go. But I'm going to take a stab.
Okay, let's do the ones that we think we're not going to do. Let's try to narrow it down first of all.
So we're going for 5.
Let's go for 5.
I would say myself. I would say The Help, The Artist, Moneyball. That's really all I got.
I might have those are the 3 that 100% I agree with. I might have thrown in Hugo because of how beautiful it is, and I know that you didn't think it should be nominated. I think it had a lot going for it, but it would have been a distant fourth. So I think the top 3 are pretty clear.
Okay, and then I'll throw in Tree of Life just because it is. If you enjoy that kind of film, it is expertly done for what it actually is. And I don't think we can take away from that just because it's not necessarily for us.
All right, fair enough. Yep.
Okay, and out of those 5, and this is honestly me throwing a dart. I don't think you're going to say it's The Help, so it boils down to Moneyball or The Artist. It's a coin flip. I'm going Artist.
Moneyball.
Ah!
Nice try, though. Yeah, nice try. And honestly, it was a coin flip between Moneyball and The Help. Because, again, I did like a lot of The Help, but for me, there were a couple of those storylines that were just too pat and didn't make sense for me. And Moneyball is, in another year, not a movie I would pick as a Best Picture itself. Like, I'm glad it was nominated and it had a ton going for it, but in a stronger year, I don't know that it would have won. But that would have been where I would have gone.
Okay.
So, I'm going to say, same 3, The Artist, Moneyball, and The Help. And I think you're going to go with The Help.
No.
Oh, really?
Yep.
What are you going to choose?
Moneyball.
All right, nicely done.
And it was very close between this and The Artist.
Okay.
And the reason I ended up giving, because I had not seen The Artist before, and I was so surprised at how well it kept me engaged.
Yeah.
And that's an achievement for sure. So I understand why.
For a silent movie, especially.
Yep. So I understand why the Academy gave it to it. For me, it really boiled down to the story. And the fact that I don't give a shit about baseball and baseball stats, and I was engaged that entire movie, that's what did it for me.
All right, so we haven't agreed in quite a while, actually.
This is true.
All right, and we agreed to not agree with the Academy, which chose The Artist.
All right, let us know your own personal thoughts. We thank you for our new subscribers and the new folks that are commenting. Keep it up. I always respond back to you, so keep it up. Thanks.
Bye-bye.